Hello, everyone. Sharon Ann Klingler here with our weekly Akashic Tarot reading and lesson. I thank you for joining me. We're getting a little bit of a late start today, but that's all right. This will be in the queue and you can tune into it anytime. You know, with it being the weekend of Easter and Passover, I wanted to talk to you briefly about initiation and the process of spiritual initiation. Those of us that find ourselves on the spiritual path in this time, during this very, very crucial time, where we're not only going through initiations individually ourselves, but also the planet as a whole is also going through an initiation. And we find ourselves on the initiation process. Now, what is an initiation? Initiation is where those of us who have been working on our spiritual evolution, not just for weeks and months or even years, but for lifetimes, actually move through a transition. Not all initiations have transitions, but not all transitions are initiations. But we go through a lot of changes, and some of those changes are internal. Some of those changes are external. But always, when we go through one of the 7 initiations, we move to a higher level of spiritual gifts, a higher level of skill sets, psychically and intuitively, a higher revelation of insight and power. And the reason that I bring that up today, and I know I've mentioned this before, but the reason I bring that up today is because this weekend, religiously, actually is noted with the crucifixion and Easter and Passover, which are actually symbolic and indeed religious allegories, and indeed not just allegories, but actual events that connote the initiation process. And so when I was getting ready for our Akashic Tarot reading today, I said, let's take a look at initiation and our path of initiation. So cards, please show me where we're going to go on during this very sacred time in our path of initiation. But before we look at the cards, let's take just a brief moment to talk about initiation. Initiation, yes, is moving up to higher planes of insight and higher ability to utilize force and manipulate energy and manifest energy and reality through our power. And that comes to us by having a certain level of success and mastery over the various phases of initiation. The first initiation is control or mastery of the body. The second initiation is control or mastery of the emotions. And the third initiation is control or mastery of the mind. Now, this doesn't mean that if you have any kind of bodily stuff left over, like if you like to eat too much cake, or if you smoke, doesn't mean you're stuck on the first initiation. There's overlap here. And you could be at a third initiate process and level and still have moments of emotional urgency and dismissiveness of your mastery of your emotions, and indeed letting go of your mastery of your body and its needs and urges as well. But if we are in a higher initiation, which third and fourth initiations are, we will catch ourselves during these times and try to focus on creating that mastery and living with a higher regard for our body, with a higher understanding that we needn't be buffeted by our emotional reactionaryism, and a higher realization that the mind, while often feels like stampeding horses of thought, can actually be the place to go to our Zen wisdom. And so all of us, I truly believe this, all of us who find ourselves on the path of initiation and the path of spiritual evolution right now are probably beyond the first and maybe even beyond or moving through the second initiation phase, because the planet itself finds itself in so much dire need to lift our energy together and support a planetary initiation. We have personal initiation, we have cultural initiation, where whole cultures move through a phase of initiation. We have societal and indeed humankind, the initiation of humanity, and indeed the initiation of the planet. Now, with us moving into the Aquarian age from the Piscean age, 2,000-year period, that the Piscean age started, not the day of, a 2,000-year period, the cusp is quite long, but certainly we see the Jesus as the herald of and the harbinger of the Piscean age. And of course, as we move into the Aquarian age is the age of the thinking man, the collective. And so we see more governments, more religions, more places and people and groups served and formed by organizational properties, organizing skills, organizing tasks, organizing jobs, which of course we see that around the world today in government, as opposed to 2,000 years ago when government was actually a kind of follow the leader autocracy was typically in the world 2,000 years ago. Even for those communities and cultures that had, like Rome had a Senate, ancient Greece had a Senate. But truth of the matter is, the Senates, if you do a little study history a little bit, you will know very quickly that the Senates did not run Rome or Greece. The autocrats in power, the autocrats who could kill the most people usually ran Greece and ran Rome. So we were still in autocracies. They were good thinking. They were, it was a good mindfulness to establish senates in those two times, but they weren't actively and actually the rulers of the societies. So anyway, so each of us is on a phase of initiation, and with us moving, all of us moving through this weekend where there are so many records and histories and connotations of initiation in Judaism and in Catholicism and probably in other faiths as well, it's time that we can take a look at our initiation process. And as a consequence, I told the cards when I was shuffling the cards, and again, as I tell you every week, so many of you write in and ask for a personal reading, but we get far, far, far too many people to do a personal reading just for one or two people. And I tell the cards, I tell Spirit, I tell everyone who has any kind of influence over this experience, this event, to make sure that the reading that we get, the cards that we get, are attend to the things that those of us who need to learn from this reading, who will be tuning in to this reading, will help us understand. And I think that they actually did that in a very big way, since when I was shuffling the cards, I said, let's see what we need to learn, both individually and perhaps even as a group, about our initiation so we can help all initiation, our own spiritual evolution, our own upliftment to higher planes of insight, wisdom, and the use of power. So here we have the cards here. And since I asked about the path of initiation, very clearly, initiation and spiritual evolution is an upward swing. And I always like to have the card spread have a symbolic sense of the journey about which we are going, and also have a visual sense of what about which we're asking, and of course, initiation is an upward movement to higher planes of being, and spiritual evolution is a higher upward movement to higher to our own evolved eternal selves. So what do we start with? We start with Sangha, the community. And again, I tell you all, I never change the cards. The cards come out exactly as they would, and as they do, and I share them exactly as I would with you. Now, this does not surprise me to receive Sangha, the community, in our initiation question, because we get support in our initiation process through the groups that we hold, especially in the Aquarian age. The Aquarian age is the age of the collective, and working in a group actually brings a heightening of your power exponentially. But it not only brings, so I strongly support anybody who wants to join a meditation group, that type of thing. That's a study group. That's all wonderful. But this is also a group of people with whom you can share your spiritual evolution, your spiritual journey, and safely do so. And not just safely because to avoid attack, but feel as if you can totally be yourself within this group of people. So see if you can find this group of people with whom you can meditate, with whom you can share your perspective and your hopes and your dreams and your spiritual journey. This is the first card, and it strongly supports the work that you're doing on your journey. Now, the next card out is the lightning bolt. And the lightning bolt is a card of power. Now, I will tell you that sometimes the lightning bolt comes from without when it's upright. When it's reversed, it's another story, but it didn't come up reversed in this time. It came upright. And it strikes the tree, and of course, it splits the tree and does damage to the tree. Now, so here we have clearly indicating that we are moving into a time of power. All initiation is a time of power. Now, we can shoo it away, and we can not expose ourselves to the opening of new power, or we can let ourselves experience it. But sometimes with initiation, there is damage, because when you lift yourself to a higher power, when you lift yourself to a realization of higher vibration, then you actually start to recognize the things and people and activities that are in your daily life that hold you back, resonate with a lower power, and don't match this higher frequency. Something's happening in the next week to 4 weeks here, where you might experience some external force of power, and that actually feels initially as if it does damage. And it certainly does, it could feel as if you're being attacked, because the next card out is the lookout. And you can see the lookout in the crow's nest, and he's got the binoculars to his eyes. His boat has been attacked, the sails are on fire, and he's looking with the binoculars over to the lightning bolt. So I have to tell you, everybody, including myself, because this reading is for me too, that something in the next 2 to 3 weeks, maybe as early as 1 week, seems as if some situation in your life, if it doesn't really technically attack you, it comes like a bolt out of the blue and makes some part of your life feel, or some part of your strength feel vulnerable in some way. Don't let yourself take this as a permanent situation and a negative resolution to everything that's happening. That's not what it is, okay? That's not what it is. You will experience some vulnerability, and but you have to look at the power and say, I need to understand if what is lost is actually helping me gain. But then we have it following the Ark of the Covenant reversed. The Ark of the Covenant is the major arcana in the Akashic Tarot that says you have a covenant, you have a commitment to your God self, your higher self, to pursue your spiritual journey, your spiritual evolution and awakening. And when that's upside down, something happening in your life actually distracts you from that covenant, from that commitment. So whatever's going on here, it could be something significant as a lost job or difficulties in a relationship, or actually some funds that are not around you that you thought you had at your disposal. But these worries actually can upturn your activity in your covenant with your higher self. Try not to let that happen. Try not to let that happen, because even as this is going on, you can still meditate and reconnect with your higher self and revitalize your commitment to your own spiritual evolution and grace. So know that and it could be a very small thing, but there is definitely a blip on the screen that makes us feel somewhat vulnerable and distracts us from our spiritual activity. It could even be some logistical situations that prevent you from spending time with your spirit. But also there is a fear-related experience here. Don't let yourself be drawn into your fear so much that it draws you away from your partnering with your higher self to know your power in every single minute. God bless you. I'm very happy to say that even though the Ark of the Covenant is reversed, the Master Artisan follows it. So even though this seems difficult, and it might be difficult for a week or two, and you do get interrupted in your work with your higher self and your evolutionary process and your covenant to knowing the God within you moment by moment, this card coming up right after that says that this is not a long-term smackdown. This is not a long-term event that has you trying to recover from it for weeks and weeks and months and months. Indeed, it's just the opposite. Yes, there's fear here. Yes, there's vulnerability. Yes, there's distraction. But right after that, we move into the Master Artisan, the master inside us, who shares his gifts with the people who work for him. And if you can get close in on that, and if you have the cards, you know that into his apprentice's hands, he's dropping beautiful coins, dropping beautiful gems in order to go into the metal with which they're working. The metal vases, the metal pots, the metal ornaments. And so, but even though it's not coins, it's of value, it's of beauty, it's of power. Okay, it's how we shine these gemstones. And if you notice, even as this master, which represents you, by the way, you are the master in your life. That doesn't mean you don't work with other master teachers. But in your life, you are the final control. You are the final decider, okay? And even as he drops these beautiful, valuable gemstones into his apprentice's hands, he's looking not at that, but at the next thing that he is going to be pursuing, the next project that he's going to be putting his mind and heart to. So this is a wonderful statement that even when you have a distraction, you can still work on the value and even keep your eye focused on the next important sculpting of your value, your authority, your spiritual beauty, and your mastery. Very dynamic stuff here. Sometimes the difficult things are actually the things that teach us the most. So let yourself experience whatever this is that makes you a little fearful in the next week or two, and ask yourself, how can I make this be a triggering mechanism back to my spirit? And how can I know that there is a duality here, that I can find value in this and also start to see the next uplifting project that's coming my way on my path of initiation. Beautiful ending card there that allows you to know you have so many ways to go with this, and you do not have to define yourself ever from loss or distract yourself too long from your God within. Beautiful cards here for the path of your initiation. I hope that we've explained to you some of the initiation process. Be aware what your body wants and what you want, what your emotions want to do and what you want to know in your spiritual emotions, and what your mind tends to do and how you can bring it to the mind of your spirit. We live in a physical body. That means there's always a duality, but that duality does not mean we cannot integrate who we are here and now and who we are forever. That's what initiation is all about. I want to thank you all for joining me. I want you to hope you enjoy your ceremonies this weekend, and your collection with fellow people, as we do with the Sangha community, and bring light and life to your experience of others and to your daily experience by always opening. Just close your eyes, even for a moment throughout your day, and say, what is my covenant with my spirit right now? And it might even just be to feel peace, to hold peace in this moment. When something around you is going awry, or somebody around you is feeling in their ego, whatever it is, close your eyes and ask, what is my covenant with spirit now and in this matter? And hold that covenant, and you will practice coming back to your spirit every day. God bless you on your path of initiation. God bless you in every moment and every day, and we will see you next week for our Akashic Tarot reading and lesson. And for future lessons, we're going to also be doing lessons in mediumship and spirit communication. Thank you so much for joining me. Big, big blessings to every one of you.